Good afternoon and welcome to Phil's Corner. Phil's Corner live, one of our streams that we do here. Of course, many of you know we're not in the old corner of the room which was renovated. It doesn't quite have the backdrop that we're looking for just yet. And you can see I've even got a pile of shirts behind me which I need to sell. And pass on, but nonetheless we're here for our Thursday afternoon stream where we're going to be ranking shirts. We're going to be ranking new releases in a tier list, a very big tier list which we've started at the start of the year, and we're going to keep going. We're going to keep ranking shirts until December in one big wall, the hot wall as we've called it. And we'll be, I think as the year goes on, we'll take some time to reflect and maybe talk a bit more about the year in shirts a bit as well. That's to come. But for now, there's still new kits. We've got, I think, about 6 pages or so to get through in the next couple of hours. So lots of new shirts, maybe some you've not even seen before. So there's some fun stuff to come. But thank you for joining me. There's just a few of us here at the moment, but that's all good. If more join, that's great. If not, it's all good as well. Just want to say a couple of usual YouTubey bits, but I do want to mention firstly, please do subscribe. It does make a big difference having, sadly in many ways, but number of subscribers does just kind of make or break a channel in a lot of ways. So if you are watching the videos, it means a lot if you can subscribe. Hey Joe, good to see you, mate. Thanks for stopping by. So it's a small thing, but being a subscriber, it does really help. It really means a lot for the life of this channel. So please do it if you're not already, and also leave a like if you enjoyed this content today. If you enjoyed the hot wall, make sure you leave a like, and it brings more people into the stream, and also just helps YouTube know that it's a good video. If you don't like the video, you can leave a dislike, but hopefully you'll do it positively. But yeah, I hope we're all doing well. As I say, we've got a few more. We've got a nice small crew here on our Thursday stream, but I hope you're well. I also want to apologise for the state of my face. I've basically decided to just let my facial hair grow. You can see there's quite a few patches. I'm not convinced I can grow a beard. I kind of wanted to see if I could, but I'm looking a bit scruffy. I probably do need to tidy up before I do any more work, any more behind the Chevrons episodes or anything like that. But for now, you're getting the rather rough looking Phil. But anyway, let's get to the wall, because again we've got lots of shirts to talk about, and I'm particularly keen to catch up as much as possible. Obviously in the middle of summer we were chasing our tail a lot, but I think we're doing well. There are kits as well which we haven't ranked yet, which we need to go back to. We'll come to that before long, but let's firstly just get onto the wall. You can see here, this is the hot wall. This is what we are talking about in this show. Very, very simple tier list. Favourite shirts on the right, least favourite on the left. The hottest shirts on the right, as you can see here. Joe mentions the Vasco da Gama collection. Very, very good. I mean, they played, I think, very much to what's popular, but they did it in such a creative way. I mean, we could quickly, I'll just show on my profile here. You can see this is the third kit, and then there's 2 keeper kits, the black and the Portugal, if you like, the wine colour. But I think it very much again plays into, I mean, people were saying it was like the Venezia collection. You could argue even better. Really good set. I think one thing which I think we shouldn't ignore is the fact that long sleeves feature prominently in the promo material. And again, there's many more pictures than this, but you could see that. I don't think that's a coincidence. Sorry, I think when you look at the popularity of long sleeves, I think that is definitely one thing that plays into it, or at least helps. But yeah, love the collection. Is it the best set of shirts of the year? I don't know if it is, but it's very good. I mean, I think I particularly like this wine coloured goalkeeper gear here. Again, we may come onto it today. I'm not sure if it's made its way onto our list. We're using football shirt culture as our kind of reference point, but some shirts don't make their way onto the site, and we'll have to go back and add them in. Basel, the FC Basel shirts notably, and there's been a few others which have been missed. They may get added in later. Although I should add that we are not ranking goalkeeper shirts on the hot wall, so sadly these two will miss out. But we might maybe later on add some honourable mentions. But the third kit is great. I'm hoping we can get this with Foot Fanatics. Foot Fanatics, one of my long-time sponsors. And in fact, if you check out my recent video, I showed you a few shirts from there. I'm expecting that this will drop in Foot Fanatics, and if you can get it from there, it'll be a solid price, and you can use my code Phil10 to get 10% off if that is the case. But this isn't, a guarantee. We'll see. Victor says favourite shirt ever or top 5. Victor, I think it's such a hard question to answer, but I've said a few times recently the Boca Juniors. I can't think exactly what year it is, but the shirt they had, the away shirt in the style of the West Germany 1988 or the 1990 home shirt. I love that, and I've got a couple of them with the two different sponsor configurations. It's probably my favourite shirt that I own, and I think it's definitely one of my favourites of all time. That I'd say that. I mean, top 5. We did a long time. I'd want more time to go through and give you a very good list, but you could probably pick many Boca Juniors shirts in the top 5. Now, guys, what do you think about this Ajax shirt? I don't like it. I'm gonna level with you. I think I've seen it said elsewhere that the stadium pattern, graphic, whatever you want to call it, is a bit on the nose, and I agree. This is kind of my least favourite way to apply the pattern. I mean, it looks honestly just a bit muddy from distance, and that's not to comment on the colour, but just it looks bad with the way they've used gradients, or just kind of try to fold it into the design. I don't think it adds anything at all. I think that it's actually quite a negative aspect of the kit, and that's on top of quite an ugly colour scheme. Now, I don't know a lot about the story exactly behind Daily Paper, who have collaborated with the shirt, with IXO for the shirt. So personally, it's not to my taste. If I was to be positive, I would say I enjoy shirts like this where you have a core element of a home shirt design, and in this case you've got the Ajax central stripe, but in different colours. Like it's a novelty, and I think it's quite nice to see. But yeah, it's not to my taste. Now, Paddy jumping in with a really important comment saying, I'm an Ajax fan. I absolutely love this third shirt, but the pre-game shirt is unbelievable. Yeah, the pre-game shirt was very good. Yeah, many people comparing it to a Christmas jumper, but that was good. I did prefer that to this. So this isn't to my taste. I think the plain back, I mean, that is just a classic problem. This detail is fine. I don't mind that. But yeah, honestly, I don't think it's a very attractive shirt. Despite the fact that I kind of, I do enjoy these kind of takes on the classic home aesthetic. So I genuinely, and this is maybe a shock, this is an Ice Cube tier. For me personally, I don't think this is very good. I think if it wasn't for the stadium graphic element, it would be in the tier above. But I think this is actively, well, it's a shirt I wouldn't even want to pick up in the end of season sales. What do you think? I mean, Robert jumps in and says, "Fan of Feyenoord, this shirt is obviously terrible." Indeed, if you're a Feyenoord or a PSV fan or the like, you'll be happy with my rankings. Now, I don't think it's the worst shirt we've seen this year by any means. So I do want to put it on the higher end of this bottom tier. But I think I'd stick it next to Juve there. I think I'd probably even take the Juve home, or at least it'd be a toss-up between the two. So, I mean, collaboration shirts, I think they're very interesting. And one of my favourite shirts this year is the Denmark shirt, which was released with the Danish brand. I think that one was just everything this shirt was trying to do, but better. Or at least, it was an example of a collaboration shirt which featured these elements, but in a much more subtle way. One of the neighbourhood dogs is being rather loud. If he is appearing or sounding on the mic. I do apologise. So yeah, that's a bit of a muted start. I think this is one where, I'd like to see more of it on pitch. And I think, it is certainly memorable, but it's just not to my taste. Now we come to Ipswich. I mean, the blackout trend will seemingly never die. I think in many ways, this feels a bit late to the party. Obviously, we've seen many blackout shirts over the last few years, and you know a trend is popular when you're getting clubs kind of, with no disrespect to Ipswich, outside the top divisions, releasing blackout kits, or continuing a trend, in this case, blackout kits. I think it's actually quite smart still. I think we'll take the trend into context somewhat, and this doesn't feel as fresh as it would have done a few years ago. But I don't mind the patch on the sleeves. Like it is, genuinely, I think, in isolation, it's probably something around, I'd even say around close to the hot tier. But because we've seen so many, it's hard not to consider that. I think the Cannon tier is the highest this would go. But I do like the shirt. It's ultimately a third kit is largely there just for sales, really. Like all kits are. But I think, again, without wanting to go into too much of a rant about blackout kits, this one for me, I do think it's nice. Let's have a look. Are there any other blackout kits we've reviewed this year? I'm pretty sure there are. Although it's not as big of a trend as it was a year or two ago. Oh, sorry guys. Already yawning. That's not a good sign, is it? But I think lower end of the counter tier. Like it does get lost ultimately in the mix somewhat. And in many ways, you could argue map-based shirts are kind of rapidly approaching that category as well, as I'm sure we'll come on to. So let's do this one up here. What are we next to there? Is that Preston and Falkirk, I want to say? Testing my football shirt knowledge there. But there we go. It's fine for Ipswich, but it is forgettable. It is just a blackout shirt. The pattern on the sleeves is interesting. And that, I think, helps. Separate it maybe from just being black. It's fine. Nothing special. Leicester's away kit. This one drew many comparisons with the Charlotte FC shirt, and that was one I quite liked from MLS. I'm going to try and find it now. This is always difficult on this list because it is so full. I think we ranked it in the hot tier, in this tier. But I'm just scanning through. Oh, there we go. So you can see here, to me, it's higher up than I remembered it being. But that was the Charlotte FC shirt, and I quite liked both the colour scheme and the pattern on the collar. As we come to the Leicester shirt, it's a very similar. It might even be the same colourway. I'm not certain, but you can see here in the shots. It's to me, it's quite an attractive colourway, and even though we've seen it with Charlotte, or seen very similar, there is a different pattern, and I do like checks. I think I've said before, on both some retro kits, but also some modern kits, it's a motif which has not actually been explored that much, or at least many teams don't go for it. I really like it. Obviously, if every team started doing it, it would fall flat. But I think this is quite good. I think because we've seen the Charlotte kit, it feels a lot less fresh. But at the same time, it's not like every team has had this colour scheme. And I think I put the Charlotte FC shirt in the hot tier. I think I'd put this one in the hot tier too. Maybe a bit lower. I think even though I like checks, I do think the pattern on that Charlotte one is a little bit nicer. But no, I mean, it would probably be unfair to rank it any lower. I do prefer the Charlotte one, and I think, again, because of this one, I probably would pull back that Charlotte one slightly within the tier. Because for those who don't know, typically the shirts that are kind of at one end of the tier, I kind of prefer to the other. So these shirts on this side of the hot tier, I like a bit more than these shirts, but it's not, it's fairly loose. But if the Charlotte one's there, I think the Leicester one, I'm going to stick it down here. And again, the Charlotte one, I'd probably want to pull back a bit more into the middle of the pack. But I do think it's actually quite a nice shirt. I mean, in one sense, you know, that secondary colour is very minty, and obviously mint as a trend or as a colour became kind of the go-to colour again a couple of years ago. But I don't mind it as a secondary colour here. Maybe that's hypocritical of me. I think if we saw a mint kit, I would feel a lot lower on this one. But I personally quite like the combo. But yeah, that's about the only good thing happening for Leicester, I would say, this year. We come to Oldham, and we've got a Hummel kit here. So I'm obviously quite partial to Hummel. Looking at this shirt, I believe it's a reference to an old kit. I can't think of the year. We've got, it says 1994. Let's have a quick look at that shirt. Because any shirt that's a clear reference to an old kit, I think it's quite good to get a comparison. So here we can see. I think this is the one they're referring to. Yeah. So this one obviously much more orange, and I have to say, guys, I think this I mean, that's a terrible picture, but this combination is so much better. And that's funny that you can get that old shirt for 50 quid. I would definitely get this one rather than this one if I was an Oldham fan. It's actually quite surprising as well, because I believe Oldham's home and away kits are both kind of similar dark colours, with the blue and I think it's like a teal kind of away kit. So honestly, very surprising. It doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't go for a predominantly orange shirt. I either flip the colours or what have you. But in short, this one feels like, I'm a fan of not necessarily just remaking an old shirt, but at the same time, it's just so inferior. Also, the collar, which I don't really like from Hummel this year or the last couple of years, interferes with the design in a bad way, and I don't like how it gets a lot. I just don't like the style of it. So this one, I think, it probably has to go in the Ice Cube tier. Again, I think everything, especially with the context of it, again, not feeling really like a very necessary or a very good third shirt in that sense, combined with the fact that I think it basically should have been orange. Maybe that'll be too on the nose, you could argue that, but I think you could still do it in an interesting way. So, not a great shirt. I mean, I don't typically rank Hummel shirts down in the Ice Cube tier. They are one of my favourite manufacturers. I do work for them in some capacity, but I don't think this is a good example of a Hummel kit from Oldham, unfortunately. As a few more people join in, I just want to say thank you for tuning in to the stream. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to leave a comment as well, guys. I love reading your comments, even if it's just a simple your take sucks. or maybe a slightly more informed informed comment. So do leave them if you want to. But thanks for stopping by nonetheless. Barcelona's third kit. Now this one kind of got, well, I feel like it's kind of come and gone. And many people, I think at the time, were talking about the difference between the player spec and the replica version in terms of colour. Now those differences seem to have been exaggerated in the retail pictures. It doesn't seem to be as different as it appeared, but there is still a difference slightly. I think that's partly because of the dry fit ADV pattern, the ventilation pattern, leaving the shirt looking a lot lighter as a player version. Brenton, this is football shirt culture, so this is kind of one of my go-tos for new releases. Think of it a bit like footy headlines, but a lot cleaner and with good English. Because footy headlines is a bit of a mess. They've got all these clickbaity headlines. Football shirt culture, if you go into new kits, they basically pretty much list every kit, give or take, a couple of days after release, with the pictures from the press release. So yeah, I really like football shirt culture. This video isn't sponsored by them or anything, but it's just been a go-to reference for me. Be aware, some kits don't make them some kits don't make their way onto the site for whatever reason, but most do. No worries, Benson. Yeah, so this shirt I really like. I've got to say, guys, I quite enjoy cross motifs on kits. Obviously, it's something which has been utilised a number of times. I think this one makes so much sense because Barca, of course, have the St George's Cross. I think it's St George's Cross. It's certainly the same colours as St George's Cross. on their crest, and I think it makes sense to bring that element through. Of course, last year's home kit also kind of played on the crest, although it was a bit more ambitious, maybe missed the mark slightly. But this one I think looks quite good. I actually personally quite like it. Nike's template, it doesn't add to the shirt in any way here, but it equally doesn't get in the way like it does in some other designs. But this is for me a hot shirt. I do quite like it. I think it's actually relatively strong, and I think it's one of those styles which ages pretty well as well. I think, again, it's reminds me of a number of the cross kits we've seen, if you like. I think typically they're quite nice shirts. So this one I think is in the hot tier. Not anything super high. I think we're talking kind of middle of the pack. But I think this is a really nice shirt. It's certainly, in combination with the Barca away as well, a couple of really strong alternate shirts. Now that Barca shirt, you can see just as we're resizing this image, right up in the Volcano tier. Paddy saying all the Barcelona's kits are 10 out of 10. Honestly, I don't think you're... I think that the away is pretty much 10 out of 10. This one I think is more of a kind of, maybe like an 8. 7 or 8. I think shirts that are kind of anywhere here are kind of 7 or 8s. That's where I'm thinking for this one. In fact, no, I do like it more. Liverpool's on there. No, you know what? I'm going to stick it here. I think in comparison, I think it does compare well to some other kits. And the home, I'm trying to remember where we put the home. I'm just scanning through. This is an impossible task in many ways. If we find it on our travels, I will mention it if you guys can see it. There's so many shirts on this list. But anyway, the away got a lot of love, and I can understand why. But the third I think is also very good. So just I think sneakily a good year for Barca. Robert saying I'm partial to shirts with the cross on, but the cross should be sponsorless, and I don't like how it's rounded at the top due to the template. Yeah, I think on the issue of the sponsor unfortunately does impact the design quite a bit. It's fair to say, but obviously the first year of Spotify, it's no surprise they want to be front and center. But yeah, it doesn't help. And on the curve, again, this one doesn't bother me as much as other designs. But the template is something we could talk about. It's definitely not a positive element. Now we come to Newport County's third kit. This is a much more successful shirt than the older one in my eyes. For capturing the retro aesthetic, I think much more effectively. I think it's it's just straight up is a really interesting design. It does feel quite old school, but the way that the pinstripes here change colour as they blend into the run into the teal section, I think looks really good. I think this is a really smart design. It does feel a bit old school, but again, if we quickly reference their old kit, and this site, for anyone wondering, is called Old Football Shirts. A nice community driven site where they just basically list all the different shirts, or people submit pictures of teams' different shirts. So it's really good to get a quick glimpse of many teams' kit history. Sorry guys, I don't know why I'm so tired today. I promise it's not your company. So you can see the old shirt here. It's obviously quite a faithful reproduction, but it's not actually exactly the same. And I actually like this. So this is one thing I say sometimes with retro kits. When they're just a straight remake, I think you can argue that it's a bit too obvious, a bit too on the nose. I like sometimes it might even be just for practical reasons. But when a team, or a brand rather, actually takes an old design and just puts a little twist on it, especially if they weren't the original creators of the design. And you can see here how Hummel basically, for whatever reason, they shifted this pattern a little bit. So it actually, you have these kind of peaks, almost like mountains. But I think this is really good. It's a shame the collar is the way it is, because I don't like that style. Had we got a better collar, I think this would almost be Volcano tier for me. I really, really like this. I can't overlook this though. I mean, it's just, I really don't like the way the black portion here gets bigger and the rest of it doesn't. Well, just the whole thing just looks clunky, and it has done for me since Hummel have used that. But anyway, I love it. I really like this shirt. Joe says, wow, not seen the Newport shirt. It might be an unpopular opinion here, but not sure on that colour used to Southampton last season. I can't even remember what the Southampton collar was now. Let's have a quick look. Certainly it has been used before this year. I believe it has. I've not got the new. So this is one thing involved, which is you don't always have the new kits. Yeah, and some teams actually. So I think it is that same collar. Yeah, it looks to be the same. That's certainly a good reference point. But yeah, it's still my favourite style. But nonetheless, I really like this Newport shirt. And Halo Food sponsor. I don't know anything about Halo Foods. I don't mind that. Yeah, so I think this is, again, sneakily a very good shirt. And one of a number of good shirts down the leagues or down the divisions in England. I mean, I've talked before on the Hot Wall about Puma doing a lot of good stuff. But Hummel are very much also, I would say, putting out some of their best work for teams outside the Premier League in England. You can see Coventry. I mean, we'll talk about Coventry again, I think, in a couple of shirts' time. But this is great. Love this one from Hummel and Newport. I think this is just so much more successful than the Oldham one. Just as a shirt, I think it's a lot more attractive. But I think the way they've gone about it is really, really clever too. So I'm going to put this right up here with, the likes of Vasco da Gama there, and you see QPR. I really like that shirt as well. But this is great from Newport County, punching above their weight, I would say, in many ways. L'Oreal, their away kit. The L'Oreal, I think it was the third kit, am I right in saying, was one of my favourite shirts this year. I really like this one. But the away, it feels very. Unfortunately, it really looks like. Was it the Adidas goalkeeper pattern, I want to say, or maybe it's the cut of the shirt. Something about it is reminding me of an Adidas design, and it's just, I don't really like it. I mean, I think it's difficult when you've got a black shirt is a good base to work with, but because black is fairly ubiquitous, you see it a lot. I don't know. Sometimes stuff actually can end up looking a bit like you've seen it all before. This, I think, falls into that category. I mean, the pattern isn't the worst thing for me. The collar, I think, is worse. I do not like that style. It's one of those. It's an area of the shirt. I mean, Brenton says don't have the boxy neck. Exactly. I agree completely, Brenton. I think that's my biggest reservation with it. On top of that, you've got the kind of sponsor clutter, and sometimes a lot of sponsors can be can be a novelty factor, but in this example it's very like one-sided, where you've got a sleeve sponsor on the left arm there for the player, right as we see it here, and then a sponsor above the crest, which is an odd placement, and it kind of feels like the sponsor has greater importance when you have stuff like this. And I know you see this in like Japan a lot and stuff, but yeah, all in all, I just feel very, very flat about the shirt. Probably enough. I think it's either the ice cube tier or the very bottom of the candle tier. I think I'll sneak it in to the candle tier, which is our third tier. Because I do think, even though I was quite critical of the pattern being a bit like it just feels like an Adidas goalkeeper template, but I don't mind it because it is bespoke, and I think it does actually, had we a better collar, I think this one would look a lot better, but it's definitely not a classic, and I will stick it right at the bottom here. Yeah, let's go next to Marseille, who are there for different reasons. So that's L'Oreal. Yeah, I would definitely take the third shirt. If you're going to get a L'Oreal shirt, get the third shirt. Red Bull Salzburg. Now, this has been dubbed the Nike International Kit, which is an interesting name for a shirt. I guess they mean European shirt. Checking out the design. I don't love it, I must say. I think these kind of patterns It's fine. It's kind of like a gradient, isn't it? The colours, I actually quite like the colourway. I think the grey is a nice shady grey, and in tandem with the blue, the navy, I think it's honestly, for me, quite a nice combo with the Red Bull sponsor, and of course the Salzburg crest. But I think the pattern isn't doing it for me. So again, I like the colours. I do actually quite like, the base they're working with there. But it feels like quite a forgettable pattern. I think the other thing to mention, is the plain back, which of course is a classic problem in the modern kit world. But yeah, all in all, I think this one is probably in the counter tier on the basis of the colours. Again, I think that is important, and sometimes a shirt I think has a good idea. It's just not particularly executed well. I think this is one of those where I don't think the pattern is particularly aesthetically pleasing, at least to my taste. But I think there is an interesting idea there. Again, we've seen grey. I feel like grey is an underutilized colour. If I was to think of a colour or a colourway that could explode in popularity, I think grey is a candidate. In a similar way to how we've seen off-white kind of cream shades be quite popular. So I'm sort of half expecting us to see more grey kits. We do see grey kits. There's many on this list, but I think we could see more of them. And obviously it being quite a neutral colour helps. You can kind of utilise it for a number of teams. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I think this one, somewhere, let's stick it here. There's a nice gap there next to Lyon. Gosh, this list is funny. And we're not done. We are not done. Aston Villa. Now, I've not been big on Castore for lots of reasons. Obviously, many people in the community as well have criticised them. I will give them credit for, one, for putting the pattern on the back. I think that does really make a difference. And I actually think the colourway has some merit here. I don't mind the black and yellow. I think it's actually not. I think it's pretty strong. You see, I think typically a more fluorescent shade is popular with third kits, but I don't mind that they've gone for a truer yellow. And I think it works well. Honestly, I think it is actually quite a nice combo. It's one of the Kazoo shirts. We could have a category, get me on Kazoo shirts. One of the Castore shirts, which I actually think, I quite like. I think the pass on the back is important. That's actually quite rare. So I think I kind of like this one. I mean, I'm almost. I don't know if I'd put it in the Flames tier, but I think maybe just outside the Flames tier feels like a good spot. I think, no, you know what? I'm going to stick in the Flames tier. I'm just looking at it here. I'm thinking, what would I improve? Some of the, and this is more of a Castore thing, but the kind of these sort of ventilation holes, it feels a little bit dated, as does the kind of side panel there. It does look a little bit like it's 10, 15 years old, but no, I think it's actually pretty nice as a whole. Yep, I think it's some good pattern work. Not as I preferred. I'm trying to think where it is now. If I just try and resize this quickly, this is a bit of a thankless task, which I don't need to do to this level, but I kind of get stuck doing. Where was it Genoa? Which was the kit? Which was the Castore shirt, which I quite liked, and I can't find it on this list. But there's been one or two which I've quite liked. Here we go. Here's Genoa there. I quite like that one. Is this as good as that? I don't think it is. I think there's been other shirts. I've lost the kit. Oh, there we go. So it's not my favourite Castore shirt of the year, but it's definitely one which I think is above average, and I'd happily stick it in the bottom of the hot tier, which I think is a signal to how much I like it. It's not something I do lightly. Again, I'm just trying to line it up. There we go. So bottom end of the hot tier, I think it's pretty good. Credit where credit's due. I don't think Castore are the worst kit manufacturer out there by any means. But let's come to Coventry, because I think this shirt is really fun. It ties off a collection of kits for Coventry this year where they've all been heavily based or had influence from the cathedral in the city. I think it's something like 60 years since the inauguration or the beginning of the cathedral. I think this shirt it's obviously a bit out there, but when you see it in the context of the cathedral, which is a really stunning kind of stained glass wall, which looks amazing, I think it's really good. Obviously the shirt kind of dumbs down the look slightly, but you still get the essence of it, and I think it's so important that Hummel showed off the context here, because it really does make a difference to thinking, you can see the colours, you can then sort of draw those parallels, which would on what would otherwise be a bit of an odd kit, but it makes sense. And I think it's fun. You don't see a lot of teams release a home and away and third shirt, that have the same running theme through each of them. So this one completes the collection quite nicely. Of course, I like the pass on the back, and again, I think the actual, if we're being picky, and hey, that's what I'm here to do, I don't know if this is my favourite way to approach it with the kind of perforated or kind of holy squares, but it is a good shirt. I think this is definitely in the Flames tier, probably in the kind of middle. I think I actually prefer the away, which you can see here, and the home. I can't remember where we ranked the home. I'm just trying to find it. I feel like I should be able to spot it, given that it's a nice kind of sky blue. But I'm just going through. This is a classic problem, in that the list is so overwhelmingly busy that a lot of shirts are kind of buried. Here we go. But it makes it all the more satisfying when we do spot it. There's the home. I think this one slots in just ahead of the home, personally. So I think, that's 3 kits there, all in the Flames tier. That's quite rare. Not many teams have that to enjoy. Ian Wood commenting, saying Coventry third, triple flame emoji. I think that is an adequate description, Ian. It's just, there's such a strong partnership. The partnership between Coventry and Hummel is absolutely stellar. It's the kind of thing where, for whatever reason, they're just getting on. They're firing on all cylinders. It's not always the case with a brand and club partnership, but I think it's really, really strong. It is a really strong partnership, and there we go. We'll stick it up here. I think it is one of the better shirts, certainly in the championship, and one of the better shirts that we've seen across all teams. Very good stuff from Coventry. Let's continue. Come to the next page. Now, we of course ranked the Adidas kits, so we're going to skip over those when we come to them, because last episode we actually ranked them, but we did miss out the Adidas and the Leeds and the Wolves third kits. Let's come to the Leeds kit. Interesting combo with the black, or the kind of grey and orange. Honestly, I think it's a bit like that Red Bull Salzburg shirt in that I like the colours, but I don't love the pattern. I don't really think there's a lot to this one. Quite a forgettable look. I don't, I think this, again, the orange secondary colour, I think it has a lot of potential, but it's, I don't know, the shirt from a design perspective does not excite me much. This kind of style feels fairly retro, almost like you've kind of got, one of the things I really like about a lot of stripe kits, where you've got both thicker stripes and pinstripes, thinner stripes. But because it's all in a kind of grayscale, it kind of gets, honestly, it feels like they've not finished this one. I hate to say it, because it's a cop out of a phrase where you say it's unfinished, but I do think this one could be so much better. Jordan. Good to see Jordan. He says, Phil, I was curious on your thoughts on the Southampton third kit this season by Hummel based on the Spitfire. Thought it was crazy unique. I really like that one, Jordan. I think that's one of those where when you see it with the inspiration, a bit like we just talked about with commentary, you kind of get, oh yeah, I see where they're coming from, and you see the colours and you see, where the elements of the kit came from. And I think it's really good, to be honest. I think it is something quite different. I think it's the kind of third shirts I quite like, which do introduce something which isn't in a club's typical colour palette, but that has a clear link with the club. And obviously, I think they did that. So it was a shirt I really liked. In fact, I can't remember where... Oh, there we go. See, I'm on it today, guys. I'm picking out shirts like a hawk. Or maybe I'm just getting lucky. But there it is on the hot wall, Jordan. So quite high up in the Flames tier. That's what I think about it. I think it's really good. Anyway, back to the shirt, which again I've managed to lose. Here we go. Here's the lead shirt. I think it's probably mid to low cannot tier. I think, one of those where I like the colours, and I actually think there wasn't a good idea in the works here, which just never hasn't been realised. I don't think. If anything, I might just stick it a little bit. Let's stick it a bit lower. What have we got? I mean, we're getting so crowded. Let's go there. Oh, it's just part of what I love about this. It's a bit silly. Wolves' third kit. I mean, I'm going to continue the theme and say I think basically Castor are making some good third kits. This one does have the plane back, which is unfortunate, but I do like. Sorry guys, I'm feeling very sleepy today, and it's only 2:45 in the afternoon, but we'll continue, we'll plough on. I quite like the aesthetics of the pattern. It feels very 90s. I feel like you're almost in kind of, if you added some kind of grainy texture and grainy gradients, you could very much be seeing a kind of Adidas style kit here, couldn't you? I think from the 90s, but I think it's quite good. There's that grey colour. I kind of mentioned it, and not to kind of pat myself on the back, but you can already see a bit of the grey stuff coming through. But yeah, this one I think it's quite nice. If it went on the back, it'd be better. And the sponsor doesn't add anything, but I think it's a pretty good third kit. I mean, we ranked Villa's just now, and that was right here in the middle, or kind of in between the candle and flame stick. I think this one is, even though the pattern doesn't go in the back, and that is a downgrade or a negative compared to the Villa kit, I think this one actually, I think I like the pattern even more, to be honest. I think it is quite a smart pattern. It looks to be bespoke to the team, although I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that is the case. It's a solid shirt. I mean, it feels like Castor, when the book closes on this season's kits, a lot of people I think will look back and think, what were they doing? What were Castor doing this year? But I think that they're putting out a few shirts which show a bit more character, ultimately, which I think just stand out more than some of their other works. So that's all. We've got the Adidas kits. Many of these, again, go and check out last week's Hot Ball stream. A number of the kits ended up in the Volcano tier. We're not doing Primo shirts, so we'll skip over that one. I mean, my kind of overall takeaway is Adidas looking really, really good. Now, having said that, did we rank? So we did. I think we did Sweden. Yeah, we did Sweden. Hungary, Bosnia. I think we did those as well, didn't we? I should remember. I'm pretty sure we did rank those. But there's Sweden. There's Bosnia. Yes, we did those. Yeah, so I think we've done all of those, which is fine. And again, they're Primo shirts. We're not ranking those. There's that Primo shirt which we talked about earlier, which was it? Paddy mentioned the Puma shirt. Yeah, very popular design. Cool. Okay, we'll come to Puma now. This is going to be a fun one. Got some of the Puma kits, not all of them. Again, this is kind of a thing with football shirt culture, but I don't always have all the kits. But we'll do what they have and fill in any gaps later. What to be said about these Puma kits? I think the biggest thing for me is that it's so confusing to me to have an element or have a design which has an element which fundamentally needs the number in there to work. Without the number in the middle there, the shirt looks odd. I mean, this is one of the maybe the better examples. And I think, again, if we were to judge it with the number, I don't really think the Ghana word mark in there is great. And in general, it doesn't, there's things I'd change personally. But the overall effect is fine. I mean, but that's not really what you don't just want to find it, do you? That's not really the bar we want to set. I think it's funny because you look at the backdrop, you look at this pattern, you kind of think maybe that could have been used a bit more. But yeah, in short, I think the shirt, again, with the number, you've kind of got something there, but take the number away. And this one isn't. This is actually one of the examples where it wouldn't hurt as much as some other ones, but. I mean, Brent is saying Ghana has to be the best of this sorry lot. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the better ones. Again, we'll judge it with the number, but with the caveat that it really does need a number. Because I think with the number, I mean, some people kind of say it's kind of got a bit of a T90, a bit of a Total 90 vibe to it. And I think in that sense, that's quite a positive. Well, at least for me, the nostalgia of the T90 kits is very strong. So that's Ghana. I think it's Canal tier, and it's only just probably in the Canal tier. This element still doesn't really excite me. You've got the flag of Ghana kind of in a stylized pattern, but the box, it honestly just looks a bit naff. And they've added the Ghana word mark, I think, to balance out that essential element, because obviously you've got the Federation crest. Sorry, dear me, I do apologise, guys. I'm yawning a heck of a lot today, but we continue. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think these kits are the worst things that they've ever made, and I actually do think that there's a lot which is quite interesting, but I don't think the idea has been well executed. Anthony's saying it's added cost to the fans, so these premium ones don't do it for me. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you could buy the shirt with a number, but it's just going to look like you've not, finished the kit. This Senegal one, a bit more of a kind of stylized central element, but again, the kind of word mark on here doesn't look great, I think. I do think this again, I keep saying again, but I'm reiterating a lot of my points on the Ghana one. I mean, the central element, this is maybe a slight improvement with the number, but you take the number away and you've just got, it's a real shame. And this is a classic thing again, but that flag at the back, that to me would make it really cool. I mean, this is the away kit. Just take that pattern, stick it on the shirt. That to me is immediately better. Maybe I guess it's less, daring, less innovative, but I think it looks a lot better. Almost like a kind of dazzle camo. But anyway, I've said it before with some of these releases. You see the backdrop photos, you think, why can that have been the kit? That's my take anyway. But yeah, I think in general, there's a lot which I actually think they're on an interesting path, but I don't think the execution is there. Do I like it more or less than the Ghana? I'd probably go slightly higher than the Ghana one, but not by much. I think we're still in bottom flames tier. Sorry, candles tier. I should correct myself. Incidentally, guys, I should say the Fluminense shirt was a lot better in person than I thought it was. And in fact, even now, I'm going to move it up to the Flames tier. And I know it might look like I'm just saying this because I was sponsored by Fanatics, but I do genuinely think the pattern in the body adds so much, which I didn't notice at the time. So a bit of a change there. I'm going to stick that there. I hope that's not too controversial, but again, having seen that in person, and this is something we're going to do more of. In fact, I'm going to put it back, and we'll do it. We'll do a show. We'll do a week where we move shirts around. Let's do it all in one. I think that would make more sense. But just a preview there. how my thinking changed seeing the shirt in person. I think again there's some shirts where on pitch I kind of, I like them more or less than I did upon looking at the release photos. And we come to Uruguay. In this example, I think, it's one of those where similar decisions, even though I appreciate that the crest has been placed in such a way that it lines up with the top of this middle section, but the word mark, it just looks, there's so much about the shirt which honestly to me feels like they tried to do something interesting but didn't ultimately create a very nice looking shirt. That might seem harsh. Compared to a lot of commentary on this, I don't think it probably is that harsh. I think you've all seen it. You probably feel it yourselves. Some frustrations. Ian jumping in, saying after the awful Puma Champions League third shirts with the club names on the front, I thought they couldn't get any worse, but these shirts and unboxes on the front reach a new low. It's funny because Ian, I didn't dislike the Puma shirts from last year as much as many people, but ultimately they weren't popular. And I find it interesting and hearing kind of people say this might be even worse, some people saying this is better. I'm not sure which I'd take over the two. Honestly, I didn't hate last year's third kits. I don't think I completely hate these ones, but this is still bad. This one I think will slip into the Ice Cube tier, and I don't know if there's any more that are going to appear on Football Show Culture. If not, we can go back and fill in some gaps. There were some other teams like Serbia and Egypt and Morocco. Actually, the Morocco one was actually quite smart. Brock saying I do not like these. Yeah, I think you're in the majority there, Brock, for sure. Sorry once again, guys. We come to Burnley. Quite interesting to see a different sponsor. Of course, the Burnley home shirt is sponsored by Classic Football Shirts, which is quite a novel thing. And in the industry, certainly a lot of people, we're talking about that. I appreciate this one only being two colours. I actually think that's the strength of the kit. And honestly, I think this looks pretty good. It is simple, but I quite like the cut here for the Umbo shirts. And again, I think monochrome crests aren't to everyone's taste. And in some ways, I don't think it's necessarily a very strong element, in this style, in this kind of application. But I do think from a design perspective, there's something to be said about shirts which are just 2 or 3 colours, ideally just 2. Sorry, I cannot stop yawning. I don't know why. I might have to take a short break and just stretch my legs because I am, as you can see and hear, don't know what's wrong with me. Let's continue. For now, at least. Yeah, so I think honestly, this is actually quite nice. I'd like maybe a back neck detail or a jock tag detail, I think, to really help this one. And the very best shirts do utilise a bit more in the body, something like a jacquard pattern or an embossed pattern. But I think this is actually pretty good. I'd almost stick it in the Flames tier. I think if we were to compare it, let's have a look. I think this feels at home in the higher end of the counter tier. But let's stick it here. I think this is a pretty good shirt all in all from Umbro. Umbro not had the biggest of years. I think in a lot of ways other brands have kind of stolen a lot of their thunder, which they had a few years ago. But they've not gone anywhere. They're still doing good stuff. Fiorentina's third kit. Now, am I right in saying this was the one that was won by a competition? I might be wrong. So in another world, this could have been one of my designs, but we're not there anyway. Interesting combo colour-wise, and I actually think it's pretty nice. It would have been easy to go down the black and gold route. Everyone's got a black and gold kit, of course, by now. But I do appreciate the slightly different take of the kind of, blue and gold. A very steely shade of blue. But, the pattern going on the back is a huge plus. We like to see that. And the design, given that it's based on the crest, I think I think it's just the right level of subtlety. If it was a bit more, if there was a higher contrast, I don't know if it would look very nice. And equally, if it was so subtle that you couldn't see it, you'd be kind of missing out on a trick. I think this is alright. I don't, the whole package when it comes together, this style of pattern isn't my favourite. I'd probably like it a bit less obvious, even though I think the level of contrast is very good. So I think this is a high candle tier for me. It's despite the colour's been pretty good, and I think they've taken good decisions with the design. It's not really to my taste. I think for a similar shirt which does it much better, probably the Vasco da Gama shirts are good examples. So I think they're just more attractive shirts than this one. And even the black and gold goalkeeper kit, despite how many black and gold kits you've seen, I think ultimately those are better than this. But it's not bad at all. It's certainly one which I'd like to put, the top end of the counter tier. A very solid position, I would say. And we could stick it down there. That feels pretty good. Guys, I'm going to take a very short break, grab a drink. I'll be back very soon. So don't go anywhere. See you on the other side. Welcome back to the second half of the Hot Wall. Today's show at Phil's Corner, brought to you by yours truly, Phil, of Phil's Corner. Don't know what that intro was. Before we get back to the wall boxes, kind of reminds you of the subtle pattern of the Basel home. Yeah, so that's another example of a show which I think is a bit better. I think the intricacies of the pattern and just the execution of the pattern I think is better. Not to take away from the Fiorentina kit. I think it has its strengths, but I don't think it's the best shirt we've seen this year. But there we go. Let's continue. FC Nantes, we've got the third kit here in a similar colourway to the Villa kit that we just looked at. The angle of the sponsor there makes everything feel a bit lopsided, or maybe that's just the promo shot there. So yeah, very similar. I think the Villa kit was a bit better. In fact, is that line diagonal, or is that just me? That's kind of bugging me now. It looks ever so slightly diagonal. Can we get a good look here? It might be straight. I think it might be straight, but anyway, not sure how I feel about this one, honestly. I think the Villa kit I quite liked. I think the pattern on that one was maybe a bit busy, but I think it looked better. But this isn't far off, even though I prefer the Villa one, which is rare that I would take a Castore shirt over a Macron shirt. But yeah, I don't know if it's the collar. It's an okay style, but like a lot of collars, I don't think it adds a lot. But no, it's fine. It does match the cuffs a bit there. I think I would sit this one in the kind of mid to high flames. Sorry, not flames tier, candle tier, not third tier. It's the kind of shirt which, we've seen a couple of kits in this colorway. but not many, and that helps. If it had been black and gold, I wouldn't like it as much, and I think we'd be looking at kind of the lower end potentially, just because it is a little bit of a cliche at this point. But this one definitely has a reasonable look, and I mean, what was this, the third kit again? So yeah, it plays the role of third kit pretty well. I think that's often, it maybe sounds a bit patronising, but I do actually think, there's something to be said for a kit which just, I think it fits in pretty well as a third kit. Let's stick it next to the Villa home. That feels like a good spot there for Macron and FC Nantes. And we come to Genoa's third kit. I'm going to tell you now, this is kind of Castore's redemption story. I mean, at the very least, we've got another shirt here, which feels to me like, at the very least, Castore bringing an interesting pattern to the table. Notably, it looks to be different to the aforementioned Wolves kit that we talked about and the Villa kit. So that's 3 Castore shirts now, and I've kind of thought, I actually quite like what we're doing. And I think, time will tell with Castore. They have a huge stable of teams now. I think the biggest thing is going to be as the industry moves on from just crazy patterns and we start to see more technological advances, which I think we're starting, well, there's the signs of that, hopefully. Will Castore be able to keep up, basically? Because a lot of their shirts look pretty dated. They don't look that good quality to me. I've not seen one in person, though, but you look at the material, that fabric looks pretty bad to me, but we'll see. But I think you can't argue with the pattern in terms of its impact. It is quite impacting. Interesting colour choices. I mean, I guess one argument is it doesn't really look like a Genoa kit, but at the same time, third kits are often like that. I mean, I think this is pretty good. I think this one does go into the Flames tier. I think it's one of those shirts which I'd expect to be popular with the neutrals, with collectors. It's certainly got something about it, I would say, in terms of that wow factor which so many people look out for. So there we go. I mean, you can't accuse me of always hating Castore. I mentioned it a bit with the away kit. I think it's the away kit there. And this kind of, for me, is another example of the brand bringing something pretty good to the table. I mean, I'll happily put it. Let's stick it down there. I think it's up there with some of the better third kits of the year. Pretty good from Castore. Fair play. There's hope for them yet, guys. There's hope for them yet. Oxford United's third kit. Very, very simple. Polo shirt vibes. A bit too simple. I mean, you look at this. That picture alone, it's almost just a school shirt, isn't it? At least that's the overall kind of vibe. The silhouette, the construction, it all feels very, very basic. I'm not the biggest fan of these kind of motifs. I mean, they're fine, a kind of embossed skyline, but it's not great. So it looks a bit stock image. A lot of these skylines do look a bit kind of stock imagey. I can't help but wonder, could they have played on, I mean, I know their symbol is an ox, right? It's not a bird, but it's always funny where they these promo images, again, they give me ideas for kits. But anyway, let's just, I think this is a nice cute tier. Look at that. It's very boring. To the point, I think, I don't want to just try out the phrase, it's dull, it's boring, but I think this one definitely is in that category. And Joe, am I right in saying you're an Oxford fan, Joe? But he says, don't worry, Phil, no offence taken from me on that. Not a fan of the Oxford third at all. Yeah, I mean, from memory, was it the home or the away that was a lot better? Or maybe it was both. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this one, I mean, especially with the third kit. Third kit's typically, you want to express something a bit more, or maybe you want to go very retro. That's another direction to go down. This just looks like leisure wear, doesn't it, from a team store? Not a great example from Macron. I think they're capable of much more, I would say. So as we try and desperately resize this again, as I'm struggling to do, let's just go there we go. Yeah, I think this has to get in the ice cube tier, and probably, yeah, somewhere around here feels reasonable. Not super hot from Oxford. Yes, home and away. Yeah, on the cusp of volcano, in fact. So Joe, thank you. Let's actually just confirm. Yeah, there is the is that the home, which was very good. That was the kind of the Dortmund one. It very much reminded me of Dortmund. And then the away. Where's the away? I can't remember where that one is. It's somewhere in this list, but again, I'm looking, and our hit rate's been pretty good today so far in terms of finding kits on the wall, but I can't find it off first viewing. But anyway, that's Oxford. And the third kit, yeah, we won't talk too much about that one. A couple of Primo shirts. We're not going to review them simply because we're not including goalkeeper kits and Primo shirts for the hot wall, but we'll continue on to the next page. Also in the Flames tier, says Joe. Mate, you've got better eyes than me. Now, again, I'm trying to remember where we put the away. What colour is the away? Is probably a good question to start with. I'm sorry, but I cannot spot it. This is. I'm going to have to bail and ask you to help me. Help me, Joe. Point it out to me. Where the heck is it? Oxford's away kit. To be honest, I'm struggling to remember what Oxford's. I probably should start with knowing the colours. It's white. BG on front. That does help. There we go. There's the away. So very decent. Thank you, Joe. You bailed me out that one, mate. Yeah, really good couple of kits there. Third one, not so much. Here we go with some more Puma kits. We did say there'd be some more, and we do have some more. Switzerland's one. Probably the most memed shirt of the year. Again, I can't help but feel like the patterns on the flags brought so much to the table. I almost want to tweet about this as we speak. All these patterns. I mean, I think there is a very fair argument to say that's just kind of what Puma did before with the very pattern heavy approach, which I think looks very good and was very popular. This style, it's hard to get too excited by it. What I will say is that I much prefer the balance here, and because Switzerland typically use, well, they've just, I think we're quite used to seeing the Federation and the cross even on kits alongside the Puma logo. That's something which, alongside other nations, they often have those three elements rather than just the brown logo and the Federation crest. So in this set, and because I've not tried to shove in a word mark, I actually think the balance of this one is nicer than some of those really tiny word marks which don't look very good, I don't think, on the kits. So this one actually I think already is a bit better there. Not a huge fan of the way that gradient's been achieved. That's quite a dated look. Obviously the memes, the calendar emoji as well, you can't really unsee it. So I don't think this is the worst one of the set, but ultimately I don't think it's a very great set of kits. I tweeted about this and said, we'll look back, and I'm sure when football shirts have changed a lot in 5-10 years time, collections like this Puma one will be ones where we can say, okay, I can see what they were thinking, but ultimately I don't think that excuses it. I think you have to judge a kit on its merits, and I don't think this is a very good football kit. And then you throw in all the stuff with the fact that without a number, this looks just completely finished. So, not loving this one. I think I'd probably stick it in the Ice Cube tier. I mean, where did we put Uruguay? Uruguay was up here. I put it above Uruguay, but that's not saying much really. Let's stick it there. Now Morocco's kit got a bit of love, or at least more love, relatively more love. Honestly, this one, you see it here. It's an interesting idea. to have, so as opposed to the other Puma kits where that central frame or that element, the design element, is a lot more dominant, this one is actually more subtle, and I do think it looks a lot better. I mean, ultimately I think, you know, it still benefits considerably from the number. Without the number, it's definitely not as strong as with the number, but it's less of an issue with this one, I think. And certainly I think that, you know, looking at this, it's actually quite an attractive design. The way that it almost looks like a reef in the middle there, kind of seems to flow from the crest. This is actually pretty good. I mean, I don't think it's anything special, but I would happily put this in the higher end of the candle tier. It's definitely, I think it's the best Puma kit, away kit, or at least I can't think of one I like more than this one of the collection. So if you know, pointing a gun to my head, tell me I needed to buy one, I would probably go for the Morocco one. I don't think it's a hot shirt, and that's why I'm not going to put it in the top 2 tiers. But yeah, I'm happy with it somewhere in the mid to high flames. Sorry, I keep saying that. Candle. It's not the flames tier. Yeah, I actually don't mind it next to Palace there. But you know, there's many better kits. This one just happens to be one of the better ones of that collection for me personally. Serbia's one, I have to tell you guys, I do not like the neckline. It's that knockoff 90s Nike look. The gold and blue combo. Ugh, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like this. I kind of like they went with the shiny gold, and the pattern looks like almost like I don't even know what that reminds me of, but little crosses. It's actually not too bad, but that collar I really do not like. Again, it feels very, very knockoff 90s Nike. Yeah, and this is one of those examples of many. Just look. I'll tell you what. The more I am going to tweet about this. The flags do just look quite interesting, quite good. They're so much more colourful, they're so much more vibrant. You can see how obviously the central elements have been kind of borrowed from this. Anyway, that's a side point. As I say, when this stream ends, I will tell you about this. Yeah, this one it's going to suffer without the number. Quite simple as that. It's so weird that you'd create a set of designs which are so clearly designed to have numbers that if you bought a replica, it would just look silly, guys. And I mean, I guess one way to overcome that would be to have free personalization, but I'm pretty sure we're not doing that. That would be quite a fun campaign or a way of doing things. Say, yep, every shirt, no matter where you buy it from, comes with a free name and number set. That would honestly be kind of quite a fun way of getting people a bit more bought into the idea. As is, not feeling it. Ian says agreed. The Morocco shirt is the best of the Bad Bunch. Yeah, I think that seems to be the most popular amongst most collectors. Let's come to Scotland. A set of kits which hasn't been talked about much. It's fair to say, and it kind of, it was released after that big collection of Adidas kits, so it kind of just sort of trickled out alongside Wales. But it does have bespoke elements, which I think is important, and obviously the tartan theme, something which Scotland do play about with occasionally, but it's nice to see. It does add to a shirt which is otherwise pretty middling, but I do like this detail on the back. That's really nice to me, so I actually like that quite a lot. And the cuffs, again, a small thing, but I think it does add something. I also don't mind the choice of purple for the secondary colour. Yeah, so I think this one is high candle. It definitely has enough with those little nods, like without that back neck detail. I think it's quite a bit lower within the tier, but that really does help. Those details help on a plain kit especially. And the cuffs, I think they're just about okay. I'd probably like a bit more tartan, maybe in the body somewhat. So it does have that slightly, kind of safe Adidas vibe, which Adidas do suffer from a little bit sometimes. But I'm happy to put this one, as I say, in the kind of higher kind of candle. Feels like a good spot just here. Pretty solid from Adidas and Scotland. And then we come to the away. Now this one has what looks to be a bit less in the way of details. We don't have the backnet detail, and indeed the cuffs as well are a bit plainer. So something that's a bit plainer. I mean, interesting choice of the purple for the Adidas logo. The overall kind of colour palette is pretty nice. The shorts are certainly quite a lot more notable. They kind of carry the design in many ways. So but this one I will stick, I think, lower in the kind of bottom end of the canvas. I think despite how plain it is, I honestly, a decision as simple as having purple as a secondary colour, I think helps this one. It's a kind of surprising choice. It would have been very easy to go with just navy. The fact they've gone with the purple Adidas logo and 3 stripes, honestly, is enough for me to put this in the Canada tier as opposed to the Ice Cube tier. It's fine lines, guys. Fine lines between the 2 tiers. But we'll stick that there. Boxing, Christian Fabric, I was looking at the schedule next year. Do you have any preference between Bundesliga / German Cup / Europa League? Honestly, Brock, whichever's easiest to get tickets, mate. But thank you. I've been meaning to look at that. I haven't yet. But if you could have a look and maybe DM me as well, and we'll get something going. That'd be really fun to organise. And in fact, yeah, thank you for looking into that. Yeah, whichever's easiest to get tickets for. If it could be any of them, I guess Europa League would be pretty fun. You know, there's some potential matchups there, especially if they get a bit further. But yeah, if I could choose one, it'd be quite fun to see them in Europe. Yeah, but honestly, for me, again, whichever is easy to get tickets for. Nice, good stuff. But let's go to Wales now. I mean, what's good is that across these 2 sets of kits, you do have, and the same in Northern Ireland, we do have a level of bespokeness, for want of a better phrase, which you wouldn't have seen from previous years of Adidas or Nike kits. This detail isn't quite as impactful as the Scotland one, but it's fine. It's still there. The pattern feels quite generic. But I also, appreciate that it does add depth to the design. It does lift up what would otherwise be, a bit like with the Scotland home, where really it was the cuffs and the Jesus on the back that kind of held that key element. Interesting to see the kind of reverse of that, almost, with the body now having this pattern, whereas the cuffs are just plain. Which do I prefer? I think it's honestly a toss-up. I think I'd probably take this one over the Scotland one. Not by much, but I do think it looks better. And again, this detail isn't as good as the Scotland one, but it's still there. It's still, compared to, nothing, it's an improvement. So I would say this one, I mean, if we put the Scotland one, we've only just ranked it, but I've already forgotten where it was. It was in the... in fact, we can just find it, can't we? So where are we? 2, 7. That's the away, and where's the home? Yeah, so down there. I think I'd put the Wales one higher. As I say, it's definitely it is good to see a shirt which has, as far as I can tell, a bespoke pattern. I might be wrong on that, but it looks to be one which hasn't just been given to those Adidas teams. At least at the moment, it's very possible next season and the season after we'll see some of these supposedly bespoke patterns being rolled out for the teams. But that's an industry thing more than anything else. But that's Wales. Let's stick them down here. Definitely, as I say, in this kind of higher counter tier range where there's a good idea there. And the away, a very interesting collar. Not totally sure how I feel about the collar here. I think the pattern's quite fun, but I'm not sure on the shape of it. I'm not sure on the way you've got the middle V-neck. I mean, I don't love V-necks, so in that sense, but it has that slightly boxy, not as bad as the L'Oreal shirt we looked at before. But very interesting to see. I mean, I didn't notice this at first actually, but on the back and on the sides, you can see that same kind of motif there, and that adds a lot to that area of the kit. Honestly, so just the shot of the back. Yes, it's a plain back, but it's rare that you get to see a pattern kind of in this way. So really nice use of Adidas's new template there. A really nice use of it. To be honest, I think it's probably my favourite of the this block of Adidas kits. That's just a really impactful look. The same backnet detail, which is, even though I don't love it, it's still better than nothing. Although it could be better, but no, this is sneakily good. I actually think I might even stick this in the Flames tier. This is still bothering me a little bit, but it sounds funny, but I like the look of that. I like the way that pattern comes through. It adds a lot to the kit. Sneakily good one from Wales here. Definitely a show which I'd like to see on the pitch. Obviously, we will see it at the World Cup even. So I'm sure this will get people talking when that rolls up. Incidentally, guys, I'm thinking of what to do for the World Cup, and I'd love to get your feedback, because for me, it's all about you guys, the loyal viewers, the ones who have been there since the early days. What sort of content would you like to see? I've been trying to kind of think and plan ahead, and I'm kind of open for pretty much anything that's feasible and that I can afford. So sadly, I won't be able to go to guitar or anything like that, but whether it's, I don't know, watching stuff live, ranking stuff live, I'm thinking of other ways we can kind of do interesting stuff. I don't know what that could be, but if you've got any ideas or the stuff you'd like to see, just pop a comment down or DM me or whatever you want to do to get in contact. I'd love to hear from you, because again, I think it's really important for me to listen to you guys and your feedback. So let me know. What would you like to see for the World Cup? Northern Lions home kit. It falls foul of one of my pet peeves, which is one button collars. I just don't really like them. The quarters look, honestly, I kind of like the idea of, and it's interesting to see what appears to be that the shirt, at least horizontally, is split in the actual material, it's a small thing, but honestly, when elements are achieved by the actual construction rather than just a print, it actually, to me, typically adds a bit of quality, even though it is quite a simple look. But it's just, I don't really like that collar, honestly, but that's just personal taste. I actually think, were it not for that collar, and we saw checks on the back, or quarters on the back, I should say, I think this has an outside shot at the Flames tier. But with that button and with the plain back, I can't be too excited by this one. I think this one has to be in the kind of low end, very low end of the counter tier. Maybe very low end is a bit harsh, but it's certainly not one I'm overly excited about. That's Northern Ireland there. So I think of those sets, of the set we've just seen, of the kits we've just gone through, Wales is definitely my pick. I would say this Northern Ireland one isn't one I would go away to buy, but let's stick it here. Yeah, that feels about right. Continuing our theme on third kits, which we've been talking about a lot today, Liverpool's third kit. Now, of course, Liverpool, one of my teams. I have a bit more of an interest in this than I would other kits. It's one which I've been anxious to see. I'll be honest, I like this more than I thought I would. Based on the leaks, which we saw months and months ago, there was that ASOS model who leaked that TikTok, was it, or something? Show my age here, but he released something anyway. I personally quite like the two colours together. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie that's not a million miles away from this shade. It is a bit different, but Liverpool, of course, they've utilised green quite a lot. Now, this is very much more on a kind of teal end of the spectrum. but it doesn't feel, to me, it feels like quite a nice modern interpretation or modern kind of nod. I don't think it is a nod to the green kit still, but it, green being a green much more closely, much more similar to Andy's trainers here. But no, I think personally I quite like the combo with this shade of red. I like these kind of ever so slightly pink shades of red. I say pink, it's very subtle, but I would say that's, it's a vibrant red, but it's I guess a bit like, it's not the same, but the accent colour or the detail colour of Liverpool's home shirt last year, which was the same colour, I believe, as used on the England women's away shirt, and the name escapes me now, but it was this kind of very bright crimson or whatever it was. That one almost had a slightly kind of orangey shade. This one is it's a different colour, but I think it contrasts really nicely with the base of the shirt, and I think this is pretty nice. I mean, you see it with the dry fit ADV pattern. I guess the one comment is it feels like this in combination with the away are telling similar stories, and by that I mean the away is a bit more dazzling, and I quite like that one, although that's probably a candidate to move down the tiers, I think, as the year goes on. It's maybe not quite exciting me as much on pitch. Obviously we've had some bad results in it, maybe that's been part of the reason, but no, this one I think is very much up there with the away. I'll probably just stick it just behind. I think it is a really nice shirt ultimately. And I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. Again, when we saw the leaks, if you'd have asked me a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have probably said low end of the counter tip. I think seeing it on release, this is an example. I think sometimes you have to wait for a shirt to come out before you should judge it. I do think this is quite nice. So if the away's there, I don't see why the third shouldn't be here. But again, subject to a few changes. I do really like the combo though. Hey Minuteman, good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing good this Thursday. Juventus is third. Very interesting kit. I mean, this is another one though, and might surprise you, but okay. So I don't love this one, but I have to say, again, like the Liverpool shirt, I think this is a bit of a story for today. Is to wait till the release of a kit. Personally, this one actually landed better than I thought it would for me. Now the pattern is a bit weird. People saying it looks like a Pokemon or something. I don't really get it. It's some sort of kaleidoscope pattern apparently. But one thing which, and you can see it here, I think the story of taking two colours which are typical Juve colours, and that is blue, the flag of Turin, and pink, which I think, it was one of their early kit colours, wasn't it? If not their first colour, which of course they've used on many others away in third kits. The story I think is actually quite good. Now I don't love the end result looks a bit, I don't know, it's kind of vaguely autumnal, but I don't love the overall look. I think it's just the kaleidoscope pattern as well. I think it's the colours, honestly. I think even though I like the story of the pink and the blue, and again you can see it's told a bit in the blocks at the bottom here. Those trainers are a bit out of place, but anyway. I kind of like that, taking two colours which are typical colours, combining them. I think unfortunately it's just the combination isn't that aesthetically pleasing. Because it's quite grainy. I quite like grainy textures and patterns, but it does look a little bit dirty, for want of a better phrase. But let's I mean, yeah, this might surprise you. I'm gonna stick this in the hot tier. I'm surprised myself again, but this is it's a very similar story to Liverpool shit. Now I think we're talking lower end of the hot tier, but I actually, I think the idea is really good, and basically, I think maybe it's just an issue. It's two things. The nature of the kaleidoscope pattern I don't think is that attractive, and similarly with the colorways. But I actually think the idea is really good. I think I would just love to see. I bet in kind of testing, in design phase, they had some really interesting patterns, which probably would have looked a bit better. But I think a lot of the hate for this shirt is unjustified. I think there's actually a lot about this shirt, which is good. My chat has just failed, but there we go, we're back. So what do you think, guys? I think, honestly, the more I see this shirt, I think it's the kind of thing which I may even try and get in the end of season sales. We're talking at the very end of the season here. I wouldn't be wanting to spend much more than 20-30 quid, but I don't know. I think it's a very odd one. Obviously, because of the nature of the kit being cut out of a big sheet of material, the pattern is a bit randomised in placement. So some people mentioned how it was quite off centre, and that is true. And that, I think, is one of the main issues. But I don't know. This one surprised me. Anthony says that kit with the Adidas sneakers feels like a kit for very casual streetwear look. Absolutely, it's very casual streetwear. You're absolutely right, Anthony. It's not a typical football shirt look at all. I don't know. I actually think, again, this one. I saw the leaks, and like the Liverpool third kit, I was thinking we're talking something right down here. If I'd have based it on the leaks, but seeing the release, I don't know. That one honestly kind of won me over. I just know any of the volcanoes here, but there was enough for me to think that's definitely a shirt which I think actually has something about it. I think it is that story of the pink and the blue coming together, which I quite liked. I'm a sucker for a good story, as you guys know. We're doing really well. I think we're going to be able to finish and catch up today, so that is good stuff. Let's round off. We'll start with the Palmeiras third kit. Very vibrant colorway. I mean, it's maybe an issue of photo editing, but on the retail pictures here, wow, that is. Well, it's just loading. If we wait to look at that, is like blisteringly bright. I don't know what the phrase is. Honestly, I kind of dig it as a third kit. I'm not sure about the yellow portions here. Feel they look a bit too dark. I don't know what it is. And obviously there is a bit of a clash with the crest here. It's so bright. I mean, it looks a bit more muted, almost mint on the pictures here. I actually prefer this brighter shade. It is pretty ridiculous, don't get me wrong. It's such a bright shade. Honestly, I kind of like it. Probably in the counter tier. I don't want to get carried away here, but just on the color alone, it feels like a fun direction to go down, to have a bright, highlighter green, but a very distinct shade. Like most luminous shirts are much more yellow. This one, and even the kind of more green luminous shirts, I honestly can't think of a shirt in this shade. It feels very kind of beach. I don't know what it reminds you of, but it's pretty out there. I think, again, we'll stick it in the counter tier, but higher up in the counter tier. I think let's stick it here. A pretty wild shirt from Palmeiras there. Minoan says to get Cameroon vibes from me. Yeah, definitely a bit of that. Although I don't think Cameroon ever got this bright, but the combo of green and yellow definitely has that kind of shade. This honestly, I'll be interested to see more of that one. I tracked Frankfurt's Champions League kit, European kit. Very disappointing. I mean, Frankfurt shirts are so often quite simple, but ultimately this one just looks like they've just been. I mean, that pattern. I don't know. This basically is just teamwear with a bit of a print on the front. It's small treatment for a club in the Champions League, and this is the level of the deal they have. Sure, you guys. We were on a good run there, not yawning, and now it's just come back as we finish. But I think this one, I don't know, the pattern is not anything to write home about. And Frankfurt shirts are so simple. They kind of blend into one. I mean, many years they've just had plain shirts. In many recent seasons, so they've just had plain white or black shirts. This one has a little bit of a pattern, but it's a token pattern. It almost, I mean, it's not good enough. And you do have to take the context into account. For a club, the size of Frankfurt, again, if they're in Europe, which they are, you'd expect much more from them. So I don't know. I think I'm so disappointed. I'll stick it on the border there between the ice cube tier and the counter tier. Thoroughly disappointing. Ian says, I think there's some red collar and cuffs would improve the final shape. Yeah, why don't they use red more? It feels like the colour deliberately. I don't know why, but if we just take a very quick look, we'll take a quick look at their kit history. Now, I don't think I mean, red is such a key part of their aesthetic, such a key part, and it feels like from this point on, and you see even in 2017 they had a black and red, but they've really moved away from the red. I think too much. I'm not saying they have to just constantly stick to red and black, but I don't think anyone could argue that some red wouldn't help. So I really like that shout, Ian. I think that's the kind of thing which this one is missing. Talking of red, Adelaide United shirt. The manufacturer here, who is it? UCAN. I feel like I want to say they're a Chinese brand, but I might be completely wrong on that. I feel like I've seen them before. Huge Australia Cup patch there. But anyway, look at this one. Honestly, I think this one has something about it. When you consider, well, you guys know I don't like one buttons, but two, just me. But two button collars, so much better. Morning, good to see you. I'm doing well, thank you, mate. Glad to see you at the stream. Hope you're well. We're just rounding off today's session, but good to see you, mate. And Popal as well. I think this one actually is pretty good. I like the triangle pattern. Obviously, it's busy when you factor in either the league patch or cup patch on the side there next to the brown logo, and then the crest. But I think what's sneakily good about this one, like the cuffs are quite nice. I like that off-white shade. If anything, you'd probably want a bit more of that on the kit, I'd say. But it looks to be the colour that's been chosen for the brown logo there. But I think this is actually a hot shirt, to be honest. For me, it's a fine line. If they'd have just done a one button collar, I would like it less. That's a personal taste thing, but honestly, guys, this literally just another button makes a difference for me personally, anyway. But overall, pretty impressed. I think this is the kind of thing where I'm now thinking, a lot of quote unquote smaller brands, and we live to this, particularly with some of the Brazilian shirts. They just don't look good, honestly. Like, in terms of the quality, they look like a cheap brand. But I must say, I like what I'm seeing here from UCAN. So this is a brand I'd like to see more of. I mean, I know nothing. I want to say the Chinese. I might be completely wrong on that. I just have a gut feeling that I'd seen something about that. But this Adelaide shirt, I quite like. I mean, I'd even put it. Yeah. I don't see why. Well, let's temper my expectations. Let's sneak it into the Flames tier. I don't know. It's nowhere really good to put it. Let's stick it there. I think it's good. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. Mona says, I'm one of those. What website is this you're on looking at the shirts? Good question, Mona. A couple of people have asked this today. This is footballshirtculture.com, a site which I like to use for new releases. They keep up to date with the majority of new kits. Not everything gets onto here, but most stuff does. And what I like is it's basically like footy headlines, but just 10 times cleaner. And they'll typically, they won't necessarily add a lot of comment. It will be essentially the press release, but the formatting is good. I quite like a lot about it. This is the Aarhus away kit from Hummel. Aarhus, where Hummel are actually based, funnily enough. in Denmark. This one has some sneakily nice details, and it has the kind of details which you guys know that I like. So let's start with, well, I mean, there's a nice jock tag detail here, small thing, which I don't even know if we've got a picture of here, but that honestly is a nice plus. And I like that. It's not my favourite pattern element, but the fact you've got a pattern within the chevrons, something which Hummel have quietly done. I tweeted about this the other day. No worries, Mornay. It's something which only a few teams I've seen have done it, have had it, but it's a nice way of using a brand mark. I mean, Hummel obviously are known for their chevrons. It's their key feature. So to have a pattern within that is honestly a nice move. It's funny, you don't even notice it on most of the pictures. There does seem to be a slight topographic pattern, I'm not sure how you'd say that, which I like. It's maybe a bit too subtle, but I think, so if you take a shot here of the guy on the sofa, let's see if we can see the pattern. You can see it. It's almost, I'd say I'd want to see a little bit more, but not necessarily much more. But this is a smart shirt. I like the collar and cuffs, the fact they mirror one another. The one colour crest, it's not the most conducive design. It's quite intricate, but they've done a good job. So this one I think is actually, I would stick it in the hot tier. It's a surprisingly good shirt for me. The colour, the navy choice, is a nice shade. It's not exciting, but all in all, I think this actually has those nice details which you look for. So I think, yeah, it's definitely in the hot tier. It's definitely a shirt which I think, it could easily pass you by. Looks like Yukan is Chinese. Thanks, Brock. Yeah, I can't remember where I saw that, but no, I like the look of the Yukan stuff. Well, at least the Adelaide shirt. I don't know if we've seen much else this year, but yeah. So Aarhus, I think this is good. I think this is definitely the shirt which, if you saw it in person, and I've not seen this particular one in person, but I would expect this to come out quite nicely. So I think we can stick this here. I'm happy to stick it alongside the likes of Mizuno there. It's good work from Hummel. I like it a lot. Angers, the third kit from Kappa. Oh man, when you see a sponsor like that and it's this kind of shiny application, it doesn't do the sponsor any favours. It's a big old sponsor, a very French thing really. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. It's hard to look past the sponsor. It's so dominating. I think this is. Yeah, sorry, guys. I like this for the fact that, a bit like with the Fiorentina kit, which is also Kappa, of course, where that was a blue and gold. The red and gold isn't a combo you see as much as a black and gold. That's typically with gold on a kit, it's combined with black. So the red is honestly not a bad. To me, I think it immediately catches my attention for that reason. And the pattern feels again a bit like a Fiorentina-esque pattern, so it's hard to separate it. Looks to be an element from the crest, and I don't mind that. I actually think I'd slightly. I mean, I'm so picky with this, but I'd almost want this to be slightly a bit the opposite of the Aarhus kit last time, a bit less contrasting. But anyway, that's me. I think I'd also like that pattern on the sleeves as well. It's not always the case. Sometimes I think a pattern does well to be either the body or the sleeves. I think in this one I'd like it for both. But as a whole, I think this one, honestly, I think probably high candle. The sponsor again, it's a novelty factor, but it is very dominant. And the application style there, it looks very cheap. Having it just as a big old sticker there at the front, not a sticker, but yeah, a big old print. So yeah, that's the Angers third kit. Oh, we've just lost it. Where is it? There we go. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what I don't like about this shirt. I mean, apart from the things I mentioned, but I feel like I'm maybe being a bit harsh. No, I think it shades of that Fiorentina shirt for more than one reason. And where did we put that one? I'm trying to remember now. Am I right in saying we put that one on the top end of the counter tier, or did we put it higher up? Honestly, I've forgotten already. Or was it lower down? Anyway, we'll come to that, I'm sure. Yeah, so this one, I think, middle of the counter tier. Like, when I look at this, I don't. I'm glad it's not just a black and gold kit, and in that sense, I think you have to immediately give it a bit more time. But overall, it's not one which I would seek to collect. Again, pass on the sleeves. I think it would have really looked nice. That. Is that a tobacco sponsorship on your Angers shirt? I'll be honest, I don't know. I do not know, mate. But it would be. I'd be surprised. I would assume that they are banned, but I might be wrong on that. I would have thought so. The Watford third kit from Kelme, very very old school design. Of course, you can see it in this reference image here. As it loads, taking a while here to load. Oh, sorry guys. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, it's hard not to think of your Newcastles when seeing this. But like we mentioned before with Adelaide United, or Adelaide FC, whichever the Adelaide team is called, more than one button on the collar. Genuinely, that already is a plus. The stripes do stop at the back. Not all that surprising when you consider, typical regulations. Interesting to see the kind of the ventilation pattern there on the back. Yeah, so that's could be better. I do actually like how they're coming from the top and the bottom as well. Often shirts like this, Nike have been guilty of this, and Adidas, where they'll just have the stripes on the bottom portion. That to me looks quite odd. Arguably better than a completely plain back. But anyway, no, all in all, I mean, unfortunately, it's just the sponsor that ruins this one. I think with a better sponsor and a less dominant sponsor, this one I think is quite an easy inclusion in the Flames tier. This is one. There's not many shirts in world football where I think the sponsor alone knocks it down, but this has to fall into that category. It is, even though it's black and white, it's so dominant. And for a shirt which is so unmistakably retro, why not have the sponsor? Well, the sponsor shouldn't really be on it at all, I think. But if it is going to be on it, make it much smaller. Maybe a bit like the City, some of the City anniversary kits we've seen, or the City, even the away kit, wasn't it? Or the third kit with the sash, where the sponsor was underneath the crest. That kind of thing would just add so much. So it's a real shame. But again, I don't think I can put this in the Flames tier with that sponsor. Don't get me wrong, we've got some bad sponsors in this tier, but few are as clunky as Steak.com. Gambling sponsors are not great at the best of times, but ones that are as large and obnoxious as this one, it really hurts. It's the same with Everton and other teams that have been sponsored by Steak. Otherwise, a really good shirt, and we will stick it at the top end of the counter tier, but unfortunately it can't reach the upper echelons because of that it's just an ugly logo, and it's huge as well. Let's finish with the Real Betis third kit. Let's finish on Hummel kit for today. Really funny to see another map kit. We've seen so many this year. Interesting story though, and that they went for the first, I didn't realise this, but 500 years ago, almost to the day, the first circumnavigation of the globe was completed. A crew set out from Seville in Spain, and I don't know how long it took them. It took them a long time anyway, and most of the crew died on the way, but some came back. So some made it all the way around the globe 500 years ago, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, Seville, where Betis play in Spain, was a key. It's where I believe where they set off and returned. So I really like the story. The style of the map isn't my favourite, and again, we've seen so many maps, and I even in my column 2 years. Thank you, Brenton. 3 years. 3 years. Proxys Ivory Coast. Yes, very Ivory Coast, isn't it? Magalan. I think it was. I don't honestly know much about this period of history. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Robert. Talking about Le Galois or Galois, however you say their name. My French isn't great. Poultry company. Thank you, Robert. Yeah. So back on the circumnavigation. I was talking this week in my email, and I don't know if you guys know, I do a weekly email with Football Shirt Collective, where I basically talk about a story in the football shirt world every week, and also pick out a few shirts that I've seen. So that I'd subscribe to the Football Shirt Collective newsletter if you haven't already, if you want to get a bit of commentary from myself. Keep up to date with new news in the shirt world. But anyway, this week I was talking about map shirts and what makes a good map shirt. And one of the things I said was it kind of, a map shirt really lives or dies on the. It sounds obvious, but it's the aesthetics of the map itself. Now, this one is somewhere in the middle of the pack, maybe below the middle of the pack. What I like about it is it has, even though it's a bit, at first you think it looks a bit cartoonish, but I assume the style is based on old maps. And I've not even looked. What would be really cool is if you could actually pick out elements which maybe were true 500 years ago, but they weren't today. But anyway, it has this kind of approximation, slightly cartoony vibe. But honestly, I think when you realise the story, and you can even see they've plotted the route. Now, it doesn't go on the back or anything, which I think would be quite cool. But anyway, sorry, pardon me. You can see the route here, which went down the peninsula. Sorry, I think it was the Philippines, where they kind of, anyway, you can read the story rather than me doing a really bad version of it. But anyway, really interesting story, and the overall, I think, idea is quite good. It's not my favourite map. I think other map shirts that we've seen I like a bit more. I do think, this kind of colourway is very Ivory Coast. Or a carrot, I don't know, with the orange and green. It's pretty out there, but honestly, I think this one, at the very least, in the map category, is one of the ones which I think is kind of, it has a charm to it, and I'm obviously quite biased, being a Hummel shirt. Is it a hot shirt? I don't think so. I think it's in the candle tier, but no, it's definitely one which I think they're even wearing it tonight, I believe. No, as a third kit, which does distinguish itself from the home and away. Honestly, it's been a good start to life in Seville, life at Real Betis for Hummel. I like the three kits. Each of them have something about them. This one is certainly one which I think is quite memorable. A very bright colour. And that rounds off the Hot Wall. Brenton says, where did the Deportivo map show get ranked? That one I liked a lot more. That one's right up here. Brenton, let's just go to 100% so we can get the better quality. Yeah, so this was a shirt which I really rated as one of my favourites of the year. A very hot shirt for me personally. So, guys, it's been a good day. We've got through a lot of shirts. We've pretty much caught up with most of the new releases. No additions, notably in the Volcano tier. I'm just double checking that's the case. Yeah, but we did have a number in the Flames tier, the likes of Newport getting in on the action alongside Barcelona. So that's the thing, guys. Football shirts are a great leveler, where the likes of Newport County can go toe to toe, if not pipping the likes of Barcelona in this area. That's one of the things I love about shirts. I think other key takeaways, well, one for me was Castor again actually producing some of their best work in the third kit category, and also shirts like Liverpool's third kit and even Juventus's third kit looking so much better on release than I thought of in the leaks, based on the leaks I should say. So there we go, that is the Hot Ball. That's our current tier list as we can see it there. And most of all, I want to say thank you to you guys. It's been fun. We've had some good chat. Great to see a number of familiar faces and some names I've not seen much before. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do stick around. As the weeks go on, we're going to finish this list, and it's been a big journey. Many of you have been with me since the start of the year. Robert, a great question. Can the Hot Wall be viewed somewhere other than on the stream? So currently, no, but I do want to do that. I'm not sure the best way to do that. Ideally, I would do it in a way where I could, maybe have it on the channel somewhere. I need to think about that. But yeah, it's a really good point to mention, and I appreciate that mention, Robert. If anyone has any ideas, I could probably host it on a site like Football Shirt Collective, but yeah, I need to think about that. But thank you, Middleman. To Spyfield. Tune in again next. I'll tune in again next. Sorry, good stuff. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, guys, still got time for questions. So any comments as we finish, do chuck them in. Buck says this week I ordered the 2019 FC Cincinnati shirt. Their inaugural home shirt. Funny story that they didn't have enough lead time to make authentic, so they only had replicas, and players only wore replica. I think I remember seeing that at the time. Very interesting. And yeah, actually, talking of interesting, I only just realised recently that Canada aren't getting a new kit for the World Cup. And a writer from The Athletic, he asked for some comments from myself, and I was chatting with him, and that was interesting. I didn't realise that, so that's a story which I'm sure will be hitting the headlines soon. Well, it's already been known for a number of months, but I think a lot of people kind of missed that initially. So that's interesting. Brenton, thank you, mate. And yeah, appreciate your comments. Hope to see you on our stream very soon. Yeah, so guys, thank you. Have a good rest of your week, whatever you're up to. I'll see you soon for another stream or video. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed this past couple of hours. I'll leave you with the outro scene. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Brock. I'll see you next week. See most of you guys next week. Yeah, all the best. See you soon.